Tonight on Obscured Reality, join us as we fly over to Michigan and take a look at UAP events that have happened in and around Lake Michigan. What the hell are these things? Are people really seeing things, or are their brains playing tricks on them? Come along with us and find out. Sit down, sit back, and relax, and join us on our journey through Obscured Reality.
Welcome to another episode of Obscured Reality. Join your hosts, Mark and Stephanie, as they take you through a journey of the extraordinary, bizarre, and often frightening world of the unknown. Explore topics of the paranormal, UFOs, alien abduction, lost civilizations, mythical monsters, and other unexplained mysteries. Come along with us as we transcend into another dimension of obscured reality.
Welcome back to Obscured Reality, you obscured fuckers. We're your hosts, Mark and Stevie. How's it going?
Hello. It's going great tonight.
Saturday freaking
Yes.
night, man. Feel like taking a hit of the vape?
I am out of vape juice currently, so I need to take a little trip over to Michigan.
Hey, well, at least it is a little trip for you.
It is
I'd like
a
to take
very short trip, yes.
I'd like to take a little trip over to Vegas, but it's not a little trip.
No, it's not. Man, I can't wait until my trip to Vegas. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
that'll be fun.
Oh my god, yes.
You gotta hit me up tomorrow or something. Let me know what we talked about.
Oh, well, I don't know. There's no
Okay.
change. No change.
All right. Well,
but yeah.
What do we got in store tonight? A little possum crawled on my shoulder this morning and told me tonight is your show. I'm curious to see what we got. I know it's UAP related, I think.
It is. Yes, it is UAP related. Actually, speaking of Michigan, we're just gonna jump right back over that state line, and we are going to visit the west side of Michigan, an area that I am incredibly familiar with because I grew up over there. But oddly enough, I do not recall this whole instance. Apparently, it hit national news. You might have actually heard it. Yes. So, but I was only 8 at the time that it happened. So, and I asked my parents, they don't remember it. So, but then again, they also are like UFOs, oh poo poo to that. So whatever. Essentially, back in March 8th of 1994, there was over 300 reported sightings of the same night of UFO activity in West Michigan.
Wait, when was this? 94?
94, March 8th, 1994. Yes.
Okay, hold on. You said how many sightings?
300.
Is that in one day? Because
Yes.
you said the specific day.
Yes.
In one day?
Yes.
Over 300
Yes.
in one day. I'm going to repeat that again.
Yes. And I will repeat myself. 300 people reported a UFO sighting in one day.
Okay, so I'm only
West
asking.
Michigan.
Okay, I'm only asking just to clarify because I mean I know other people ask, and I'm curious myself. 300 people, like at some gathering of a large group of people, or probably mostly scattered, not together, unrelated.
Scattered to the point that 41 of 82 Michigan counties had a reporting from that particular instance, all reporting the same thing.
I just want to make sure the people are either like the majority are all together or they're not.
Well, okay. Here,
I mean,
Michigan,
I'm sure some of them people were.
Oh
together,
no,
but I mean,
most of them are from this area. Yes, this area
no,
right
no,
here.
No.
Yes.
Let me get more specific.
Okay.
Like 300 people at a wedding all saw this event, or 300 people approximately scattered throughout an area of Michigan, unrelated to each other, don't know each other, saw.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Now, when I say So, for example, here's Michigan. Now, when I say 41 of 82 counties in Michigan, I am talking
Yeah.
about people all the way up here in
Oh
Traverse
yeah.
City,
Yeah.
like all the way down to the state line
Well,
from Lansing, Michigan.
40
Yeah,
counties is
it's
huge,
half the
obviously.
fucking state.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of the sightings are bunched up around this area, which is right here is Lake Michigan, right down here
Right.
is Indiana, over here Chicago. Um,
Okay.
so it happened initially over Muskegon, which is up here-ish.
Okay.
Uh, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of backstory, and then I'm gonna go through the like step by step of what happened according to a couple of witnesses that were pretty
Right.
large in the, I guess, news version. Like
You
when the
know,
news picked up on it, like they were
yeah.
big witnesses that were interviewed a lot.
I'm
So
gonna
I'm just
real quick before you go,
mhm,
we'll just give a quick visual. I'm pulled up a map of Michigan.
mhm,
Just so we clarify, not for me,
yeah,
just anyone that I mean, y'all can see it on a map, right? You're not dumb, but just so we have a
yeah.
visual.
I mean, a map is a lot better
Um,
than a hand. So, but see,
so
it's a hand.
as far south as where did you say,
Okay,
or did you say?
so we are talking as far south as the Michigan Indiana line where I live, right there by South
Okay,
Bend. Yep. No,
so
like I don't know about any sightings
where?
inside of Indiana, even though it was insanely close to the border. I don't know this is focused on
Okay,
Michigan
okay,
alone.
okay.
So I don't know if
So
this
yeah,
was
so
cited by anybody in Indiana.
South Bend's about right there,
Yes.
approximately,
Yep,
and
and then
so
we're talking all the way up into Lansing, as far east as Lansing, which is dead center,
right
that's
there,
the capital of Michigan, yep, and then if you scroll out, we're gonna go all the way up to, I guess, what would be, like, the middle, like, knuckles of the finger, so up a little more. Where's your mouse? There it is. Up a little more, right there. About right there. And
right
then we're
here.
gonna head right over to Traverse City. Yeah, about right there. And then we're gonna head over to Traverse City and come on down. And that's about the area in which the map that I saw like had the red dots in it. That's the spread that we're looking at. Now, mind you, it
Jesus
is a
Christ.
good 6-hour drive from where I am in South Bend all the way up to the tips of the fingers to go to Mackinac Island. It is a good
Yeah.
6, 7, 8 hour drive, depending on how fast you drive
Well, just
and if you
remember
stop.
six
Yeah,
hours on your roads is different than 6 hours on my roads, right? Like you may only be able to get 400 miles here, whereas
yeah,
just for context.
mm,
But so yeah, I mean that's wide. I mean
that,
that's
yeah,
from let me
that, yeah.
just get an
Michigan's a
idea.
pretty big state. People don't
So
realize that,
in Michigan, we're
and there's
looking
2 parts to
at
it.
we see the bottom up to
Mhm.
about right where this dip
Where,
is. Okay, so
yep.
let me zoom out and I just want
So
to
like
compare
just
that
east
to
of like Traverse City.
California. Oh yeah, that's about from Orange County up
Mhm.
to the Bay Area in California, guys. Approximate. So okay,
Mhm.
cool. Well, I'm gonna stop
Yeah.
sharing here. We got a visual. Now I'm
Okay.
curious. You better have some good stuff on this. I'm curious.
I I do. I this really excited me when I learned about it. I was like, how do I not remember this? But then again, I was 8. So, anyways, so on
Already makes
March,
me think of the Phoenix Lights, the entire state diagonal.
yeah.
Less counties there, but
um, so in March 8th, 1994, started approximately at 9 o'clock at night. Um, Real quick, this is the quick Wikipedia breakdown of it. There was 300 reported sightings of multiple UFOs in western Michigan. UFOs were described as resembling flickering Christmas lights consisting of 5 or 6 objects cylindrarly shaped or circles with red, blue, white, and green lights. Uh, Sightings were reported to 1991 911. I am tired. And were observed by police and also the National Weather Service radar at the Muskegon County Airport. Um, MUFON had or Muf yeah,
move on.
MUFON. There we go.
Someone's gonna correct you.
Inter-
Might as well be me.
well, oh well. They interviewed dozens of witnesses. It was one of their
hmm
largest like interviews of like people in a single sighting to date. Um, Michigan, by the way, also ranks in the top 10 of their reported sightings every single year. Just so y'all
Wait,
know.
hold
Yeah.
on. You
Yep.
said Michigan ranks.
Ranks in the top 10 of the Mutual UFO Network's, like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, every, like,
Really?
top 10 reported states. Yeah, Michigan is
You
one of
know,
them. Mhm.
I for some reason I wouldn't be surprised,
No.
right?
I
Like
mean, look
we
at all
don't
the
know what
water
these
we have
things are.
around us.
Right. Look at we don't know what these things are, right?
Yeah.
Otherworldly or not.
Yep.
However, you look back in history, decades and decades
Mhm.
and centuries, and one of the common themes, water.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean,
Mhm.
Michigan's practically surrounded by
We are.
uh
We're
what
a peninsula.
three oceans. I mean,
Yes,
you can call
3
those
mini
oceans.
freshwater oceans, yes, like,
Yeah, you
they're not lakes, they are not lakes, they
no,
are mini freshwater oceans because they are
they are.
just as fucking dangerous, like, the riptide and undertows, don't take them as jokes, man.
Oh
They
yeah.
kill
Well,
people
I
every
mean,
year.
just the
Yeah,
size
that too.
alone, you might as well call them a
Mm,
goddamn ocean. I
yeah.
mean,
Lake Superior is, like, one of the deepest lakes in the world, I believe,
yeah.
and, Lake Michigan has more shipwrecks than any
Oh
other
yeah.
lake, I believe, as well. It's a, like, diver's paradise, but
I always got
I
kind of sketchy flying over either any of those lakes until I finally went to Hawaii, and I'm like, this is worse. At least you might have a gliding solution if something happens around Michigan,
yeah.
but
And also, you would be able to get reached by Coast Guard or National Guard relatively quickly,
somewhat
considering,
timely.
yeah, somewhat,
Yeah.
considering you are bordered by 4 states around Lake Michigan. So,
Yeah.
either way, I digress. Um,
Yeah.
According to the Mutual UFO Network and their interviews of all the witnesses, they have claimed that they've ruled out most of the earthly explanations, such as small planes, gas, blimp, weather balloons, satellite, shooting stars, military aircraft, or debris. Now, I'm going to get into a little quick rundown and a couple witness like descriptions just to give you an idea of like the movement and what people saw in different areas of Michigan. So we're going to
Okay.
start at the top of Michigan, and that's going to be with the meteorologist that we were talking about at the National Weather Service in the Muskegon County
Okay.
Airport. His name was I literally just lost it. Jack. I know it's Jack. I can't pronounce his last name. I'm sorry,
I
Jack.
think his last name is
Um,
Mehoff.
I think it was no, it was Bushing.
No, I think it's
Yeah.
Mehoff. Jack Mehoff.
I,
Jack Mehoff.
this
Jesus. Come on.
you know, I
Shitty
live
jokes. Shitty
with
jokes are always funny.
I know I live with like a dude who's like the king at trying to set me up for telling me like nuts on my chin or like that's what she said. Oh, seriously, there's times he'll be like, "Hey, do you know
uh,
Eileen?" And I'm like, "What the fuck? Who's Eileen?" He's like, "Eileen, these nuts on your chin." And it's
oh my
like
god. That's lame.
that's
Come
what I live
on.
with.
Anthony, if you watch this episode,
He does.
I know you can do better. Call me
No,
sometime,
there
text
are a
me,
couple
my
of them.
numbers.
There are a couple of them that it was just like, all right, that was good. He actually got a spam
Yeah.
caller one time with the Eileen one, and I was cry laughing behind him that the guy actually
Do
walked into
you
it. And then the spam caller started laughing too.
yeah.
That's
Do you
when
know what you
I
call a
fucking
lady?
lost it.
You know
Huh?
what you call a lady with one arm and one leg? Eileen.
Okay, I was about to be like, man, my head went somewhere super dark on that one.
What do you call a guy with no arms, no legs floating in water? Bob.
Oh god.
That's the extent of my jokes, folks, because
Dude,
the rest.
not safe for work.
All right. Well, let's
So
hear
yeah.
these
Anyways,
stories.
yes. Anyways, so the meteorologist, that is a word I have a problem saying, Jack Bushing in Muskegon, uh, a lot of what I read was from his or saw actually, it was from his point of view.
Mhm.
Um, I will get to what he saw in a little bit, but first let's talk about Cindy Parvata. She lived in Grand Haven, which is 25 miles south of Muskegon, where Jack first saw something on the radar.
So we just looked at Traverse City on there. That's
Yeah.
towards the
Mhm.
northwest.
Mhm.
Where in relation to that would you say it is? Like south of
South.
there?
South. Yeah. Muskegon
How
is
far
south.
south approximate you think?
That I can't tell you. I'm not so
Okay.
familiar with the upper part of Western Michigan. It's more the
Yeah.
lower part, like Holland and
Okay.
below
Oh,
is
no
where
biggie.
what I know. Um, so approximately at 9 p.m., she was in the kitchen on her phone. Now, at this time, y'all watching, we had phones that still got attached to the wall and we couldn't walk the fuck away. So, what we do is pace. That was a common thing. So, this woman was pacing on the phone, talking to her friend Edna. And she saw this
Oh
really,
God.
yeah, oh yeah, I love it. Cindy and Edna, I love it. So she saw a really bright light outside of her kitchen window, like so bright. So she looked out the window and she thought at first it was like a really bright street lamp, and she was like, "What the heck?" And she looked out, and but instead of being one light, there was four lights outside. And she
Okay.
literally said to Edna, her friend on the phone, she's like, "I think I have a UFO in my yard." They were in a straight line. The one on the far left of the four lights moved slowly across her tree line and came back. And then
Mm-hmm.
the right one moved over as well, but then shot away, gone in a flash. So
Hmm.
that there was just three lights left. Their lights were so bright that she stated that she was not able to see an object of any type because of they were just so freaking blinding.
Right. Well, it was
She
nighttime
watched
too,
them.
right?
Yes, but the
Right.
lights were just so damn bright she couldn't see. Like how the video we watched the other day, how you could like see kind of an outline of the triangle of the ship. Well, what
Yeah.
would
It was edited
assume to
though
be.
to bring
Yes,
that out.
correct. But like, let's just say that it was
Yeah,
bright enough where
I
she couldn't
gotcha.
see something like that.
You would think
She watched it.
if it's large and there's a light on it that's
Mm,
bright, you'd think if it's large you might be able to see something, you know. But
apparently
obviously, if
didn't.
it's
Yeah.
that bright, you know, it's like the one I saw. It's
Mm,
the brightest light I've ever seen in the sky,
mm,
minus the sun and the moon. Of course, I couldn't see an object. Who knows if it
mm,
wasn't? I mean, who knows what the hell's going on? But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't
mm.
expect at night someone to be able to pick anything out, anyways.
Right.
You know.
Especially because it was a downward facing light instead of like a rim light. So
Hmm.
she watched it apparently for about 30 minutes, and then it was gone. It took off. They took off. It didn't make any sound. Like apparently the lights, like the three lights that stayed, moved, or the two lights that stayed, moved together in like a formation. So it was almost as if it was one. So she watched like them for about 30 minutes, but they didn't make any sound. Like when the lights first came into her property, when she first like observed them before they shot off different ways. Oh no, there was three lights because only one took off. Apparently, they moved over her pasture where her horse was. The horse was grazing, didn't even look up, didn't even register that there was like an alien
Hmm.
abduction about to happen to its ass. Um, so it was incredibly silent. So 22 miles south of Miss Cindy in Grand
Hang up.
Haven. Hmm?
Was the horse abducted?
No, I'm just.
Oh.
It was a joke.
Oh, okay.
The
So
abduction
it
was.
so it
It
makes me
didn't. It just
question, like, number one, we don't know what it is, right?
correct.
And you look at things like the show that's out now, Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and they've had a few instances with
Hmm.
cattle. They have some of it on video,
Hmm.
and a particular cow acting very odd. That's when they noticed. Well, they noticed in the video when they looked at it later after this cow died, there was a UAP above, a light in the sky. The thing is, you know, they say as they're watching it, they're like, it's right above it, it's right above it, but you don't know where that light is, right?
Right.
You don't know that that light's not 20 miles away near an airport. You have no
Right.
clue. Um,
Man,
so
how do you
so
do headphones and glasses? This hurts.
it sucks. So you know, I mean, you question if this thing
Mhm.
was even close to her at all.
She
You know,
says that
it
it
could
was.
be.
She said she
Well,
observed it coming over her tree line, but again,
you
perspective.
get an initial feeling, right?
Mhm,
So like I saw that light out here and I get an instinct of approximately how far away I think it is.
mhm.
But in reality, I don't know. Like I
Right.
said, it could be 1 mile away. It's still a very bright light
Mhm,
and moving really fast. But if it's 20 miles away, that means it's an even brighter light and it's moving at an insane speed.
mhm,
If it's 100, 500 miles away. Then the bright light is so bright that half the population of the world should have seen it, and it would have been traveling at a speed that was just stupid, So you do get an initial instinct by what you're seeing, but again, without knowing what it is, it's like there's no way of judging. At night,
This
at
is
least,
true.
it
However,
sucks. So 20 miles
we'll
away,
get
22 miles
yeah,
away.
we'll get back to that. You don't know how
Okay.
far away it is comment in a little bit because
Okay.
I learned something very interesting today.
Yeah, no. Hey, yeah, call me out on it. I mean, by all means, if there's more,
Oh, no,
right?
I
Because
didn't know about this, but there is a way to tell exactly how far away it is. But like I said, I'll get to that in a second. It has something to do with our friend Jack. So let's go
okay.
22 miles south of Grand Haven to
Okay.
Holland. We are now going to talk about our witness, Holly Graves. She has a 14-year-old son who actually was the first one to witness the bright lights. He was calling for his mother. She ran into the living room. She saw like the lights. The whole family ran into the living room, and the lights were, very apparent, very bright, as the first witness had said.
You
So
said
she
he's
called.
14?
The first witness, was 14, and
Okay.
then he called for his mom, Holly, and the whole
Right.
family ran into the front room, and the whole family saw. Holly was just one who gave statement. So I actually have her 911 call as audio. You will hear her say that it looks like a string of Christmas lights. They are moving southeast. They're about 300 feet up, but they're moving super slow. She states that they are almost like, it looks like it's a chrome cylinder that's going around in a circle that has no windows. It has lights coming out of the bottom, and they watched it for a good 15 to 20 minutes
Hey,
before the police showed up.
so real quick, you said a chrome cylinder.
Yes.
Now, when you say cylinder, like in my mind, I'm picturing like the Tic Tac, right? Like rectangle, but rounded, a cylinder.
Yes.
What did you mean by going around?
Spinning. That's how they
like this, almost like a helicopter blade, but a cylinder spinning like a helicopter blade.
So like,
Kinda.
you know how they always like used to draw UFOs that would fly and they would like spin in a circle, and they had the lights that would shine on the ground and they would spin as they like hovered. That essentially is, I believe, what they're trying to say, based on some of the drawings that some witnesses had done that I saw in an episode about this that I watched.
Okay. I'm just clarifying so I have a better picture.
I am just telling you what I've seen from the drawings, and that's what I'm assuming, because a lot of people actually described it as a shiny chrome metal cylinder that had lights on the bottom of it. So either way, she called the police. The police came out and actually ended up watching the lights with Holly and her husband.
Score one for the UFO nuts.
Yes. And I do have that 911 call if you would like to listen to
it. I know you're not asking.
Rhetoricals.
Yeah.
Let me pull this.
Let's hear this. I'm curious. Keep in mind, folks, too. Oh, here we go.
Oh, sorry.
This is a non-emergency, so feel free to cut me off if something comes in. And I feel kind of silly calling, but my son insisted that I call. Is there any Air Force airplanes or helicopters flying around in Allegan or Ottawa County tonight?
Well, we've had reports out Stratford Way in that area of lights, and they're checking it out.
Stratford Way? Yep. Now, where would that be? We're right on Ottawa on the county line.
Yeah, it's down in that area, right by Holland City.
Pardon?
Right down, it's by Holland City.
Okay, because he saw them heading southeast of the county line of Ottawa and Allegan, probably right on the Kent County line, I would imagine.
Okay, yeah, we've got them checking it out. They say it's something to do with radio towers down in the area.
It has something to do with what?
Radio towers down in the area.
They were in the air.
Why don't you tell them what you saw?
Okay, I was at a real high hill, right on the county line there, and it was like at a 45-degree angle to the ground. There was like probably 4 or 5 lights, and they were all flashing right in a row from the top all the way down to the bottom. And it was sitting there for a while, and then it leveled off, and then it moved southeast. It was up in the air quite a bit.
Okay, yeah, we got an officer down in the area checking on it right now.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it took off real fast.
Okay, yeah, we'll let him know.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Huh. Okay.
Yes. So, that was Holly and Joey, who called it in.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. I told you this was a good one. So now the cop shows up. They watch it for about another 10 minutes together with the responding officer before she, I guess, apparently had walked away, but the officer and her husband kept watching it, and then he started yelling for her. He started yelling that the light had split into 5 different lights and then just gone.
Huh.
Yes. So that night, they were just flooded with calls, like all different, counties and city,
Yeah.
departments were being flooded with calls, obviously, because there was 300 reported sightings that night. And all of them stated that there was blinking, flashing lights in a row, moved in a circular motion sometimes. The lights disappeared, then came back. Like the lights showed up in sometimes lines, sometimes circles, sometimes triangles. Like there was no rhyme or reason what shape they took. And
Right.
that part's about to get more interesting as well.
A quick question for you.
Yes.
Do we have a time frame? Like first report was this time, the last report was around this time.
The first report of sighting was approximately 9. By the time 2 a.m. rolled around, all the lights had disappeared.
And I'm curious on the distance. Like I'm looking at what I'm looking for is a time of a call on the north or southernmost part of a viewing, right? And then a time on a viewing in the 100% opposite direction, farthest away.
Now that's saying that it was just one set of lights.
Yeah. So we're looking at about a 5-hour time span. These things were seen.
Yes.
Okay. 9 p.m. to around 2 a.m.
Yes, correct.
Sounds like they got kicked out of the bar too.
They sure did. So
the aliens.
Yes. It's kind of sad the people getting kicked out of the bar didn't get a chance to see the lights. Right. So the police in Ottawa County, which is over on the west side of Michigan, it's not one of the middle counties, it is one of the outer ones by the lake. They contacted the Muskegon Weather Center to be like, hey, do you guys have radar? Because we're getting a whole shit ton of calls about stuff in the air, and we want to see if you can see it. This is where our friend Jack comes in. Jack was the one working at the center by himself that night, and he was like, yeah, sure, okay. He just kind of passed it off, and he was like, yeah, I'll check. Like, that's my job to check, so I'll check. He was speaking. This is actually another audio that you can find online. I just don't have it. On the 911 call, you can hear him say that he's looking. I have no idea what half these words means. I am just quoting it kind of verbatim. They see a large return, it's called a large return, while they were looking at it in vertical. It disappeared. It was about at 6,000 feet, moving at approximately 100 miles an hour, which he was like, okay, that's not unusual. Planes.
Where was this guy at? He was at
he was in
National
a
Weather Service.
Yes. Here's the thing.
Okay, vertical
with radar,
return. So he's looking at some type of radar.
Yes, he is looking at radar. Now check this.
Yeah.
This is how he can tell exactly how far away these things are and the altitude.
Well,
his
vertical
radar.
return, that tells me they're looking at it from ground up versus a swath going out in a
he's using 2 different radars to track it at this point.
Okay.
Because he is using a beam and he uses the traditional vertical.
He said, what, 6,000 feet, 100 miles an hour?
It disappeared about at 6,000 feet. It was moving about 100 miles per hour. So the thing that I learned about radar, especially the Doppler that goes around the vertical one, it's like following a fly in a dark room with a flashlight. Once you get it, it's hard to keep on it until that swing of the radar comes back around and relocates it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You have different kinds of radars, right?
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna, guys. I'm not claiming to know jack shit about them, but
Mhm.
I mean, I've seen a little bit. It's not hard to understand once you get it, and
Yeah.
even getting it isn't hard. But yes, you see the typical radars, let's say on
Mhm.
military ships, and they're spinning around, right? Every time that thing comes around, well, it's shooting the radar out the whole time. But when that thing's, let's say you're 50 miles away from it, when that thing's aimed towards you, that beam of radars, boom, shooting out towards
Mhm.
you and
Mhm.
returning back. That's how they get the location, right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
However,
Yep.
if you're looking at the screen when that radar is facing you, boom, that's when you're going to get the blip on the screen,
Mhm.
like you typically see in warships,
Mhm.
movies, and stuff. And as that thing's swinging away from you and waiting until it comes back around, that's when that blip is kind of like fading out. And then
Mhm.
as it comes around again,
Get stronger
and
again
that
with the
radar
return.
hits you, boom, that dot comes right
Mhm.
back up where it was, or if it's
Mhm.
moved, it
It's
comes up somewhere
a
else.
different location. Correct.
Yeah.
So after it disappears at 6,000 feet,
Mhm.
he found it again. Oh, my TV just decided it was gonna shut off. Uh, he found it again on the radar. It was moving at this time west southwest, and it had gotten down by South Haven at this point, which is south of Holland. So we're going south, south, south. And
Okay.
it looked like a blob on the screen. However, it stopped, hovered, and shot up to 12,000 feet. The light then split into three, came out, came back in, came out, came in, shot down to 5,000 feet. He got like a super strong return on it, which means that it was a solid object. And based on how the return came back, he could confirm that it was smooth and reflective. Again,
Hmm.
going
Did
along
it
with
say how
everything
quick it
else.
shot up to
Within
12,000?
seconds. Within seconds.
Interesting. So
Yes.
he was
The
watching
lights
this all this was
all
all
on
on
radar.
radar.
Yes.
Okay.
The lights would jump also 20 miles west southwest towards Chicago one by one. So as he was hitting it with his beam radar, they would jump like 20 miles, like one by one by one, but they would always come back to the perfect
Mm,
triangle shape.
I just got the chills.
They would hover, then
Huh.
jump again. This is all while jumping within 7 to 12,000 feet while staying within this triangle formation. Now, while
Okay,
he was using the beam,
I'm gonna cut you off.
no worries.
Sorry. This is what we do
Yeah,
on the show. I mean, hey,
yeah,
if you got questions,
ask him.
that's my idea is,
Mm-hmm.
don't forget them by waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even really have a question, but this kind of says something interesting to me. Possibility, right? And I kind of reference back to Skinwalker Ranch as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're finding, it's hard to say evidence. They're saying evidence, and I agree with them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you don't know what it is you're looking at, when you
Mm-hmm.
don't know how it's doing what it's doing, it's hard to say you have evidence of this particular thing, which in the case of Skinwalker Ranch, I'm referring to portals. They're finding evidence there could be a portal up there, but then again, we don't even know that portals are a thing that could even exist. So, we're going, they go with their best ideas, best scientific data they can, that in theory could be a portal, and say, hey, this is evidence there might be a portal. What
Yeah.
you're telling me immediately makes me think of like portals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this thing's there in the sky, however, whatever altitude it's at, right? And then it's gone from
Varying. Yep.
radar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you talk about something that just goes invisible, the object is still there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you can't see it, right? So you should still get a radar return from
Mm-hmm.
it, whether it's visible to the eye or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the simple fact that number one, it disappears from radar, and then within seconds, it's like 20 miles away. I mean, that almost tells me right there, unless that, if that radar has made a sweep, at least one full rotation,
So this wasn't with his
while,
vertical one. This is with his beam radar. So it was a
well, either
focused.
way,
Yeah.
okay, either way, if that thing's, if the radar's scanning all of that sky
Mm-hmm.
and it makes one full sweep, one full rotation while the object has disappeared, you would expect that if the object is actually still technically visible to radar, but it's moving, that it should still pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how fast the radar is working there, but you would expect. So you say seconds from boom, it disappears, and then a matter of seconds
Within a
later, it's
second.
20 miles away. Oh,
A
okay.
second
Yeah, the
later.
radar definitely didn't go around in a second. So
No. It's
yeah,
the
but
he was clocking this with his beam radar. He had
yeah.
said that as he was like using his beam radar, and anytime he would move it, the
Hmm.
lights would almost chase it as if
Yeah.
they were trying to be seen. But here's the thing. When you jump
Interesting.
20 miles within a second, that
Oh
is
yeah.
literally 72,000 miles per hour. You could go from New York to LA in 2 minutes at that speed, just to give you an
Unless
idea. Yeah,
unless you're talking about portals.
exactly. So, but like, yeah, like, so he was blah. So as he was, I was saying, using his beam radar to
Hmm.
track the objects, they would like follow the radar and almost, like I said, try to be seen by it.
Hmm.
They hovered over Lake Michigan for about 2 to 3 hours. Now,
Wow.
now here's the thing. Like, he literally watched this for almost his entire shift. He's actually stayed over just to watch these lights longer. So his shift
Yeah,
went
I would.
from yeah, right. His shift was from 4 p.m. to midnight, and this started at 9. He didn't leave until 2, which is why, like I said, the last like report that I'm aware of the lights was at 2 a.m. because he had said that they had all filtered out by then.
Yeah.
Now, back to the lake. This is mm. So if you don't know anything about Michigan and our winters and how ungodly cold it can be, sometimes the lake doesn't necessarily thaw out until late spring. And being as this
Hmm.
is March back in the 90s before global warming, things actually froze over pretty damn well. So
Not the whole lake.
no,
That's
not the most of the
it's like
lake
the
actually,
edges.
yes, well, no. Dead ass,
Wow.
most of the lake will freeze over. Now,
Wow.
I know it's really crazy, like actual sheet ice. Like they
Hmm.
actually have to take out icebreaker ships on the lakes.
Jeez.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that about the Midwest. Like that lake is it can whip up some seriously devastating storms. Like not like a nor'easter
Yeah.
or anything, but still, lake effect is pretty bad.
Oh yeah. No, it
Now,
is.
one thing about the lake in which the area that they were hovering in is the part that you was most far north that they could get without having full sheet coverage over the lake. Now this is in beach, like by South Haven, and a town that's a little bit south of that called Benton Harbor. So we're talking about that range area now, and they hovered there for about 2 or 3 hours, like he had said. He was watching them on his radar the whole time. Now, while they were out over this open water, it almost looked like it was a rendezvous point for what he was seeing on the radar, because he saw multiple hits surrounding the initial hit lights. Now, obviously,
Hmm.
he couldn't see it because he was inside looking on his radar, but
Right.
based on what he saw on his radar, he said that there was lots of other objects in the airspace around it as if it was a
Okay.
rendezvous point, which honestly, like I had said earlier, Michigan's in the top 10 for UFO sightings every year. USOs are 100% a thing, and there has always been something strange about Lake Michigan. I've known about weird lights since I was a child. Like, I haven't seen any personally, but stories get around when you live in
Yeah.
this side of Michigan. Like, it's just something that it is.
Yeah.
So, not surprised. Honestly, everything about this story just hits every reason why I believe in UFOs or UAPs and USOs. Like every single part of it. It hits every single this is a consistent.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you can't argue with over 300 witnesses
yes.
throughout the state, not
State.
all
Yes.
sitting there together,
Correct.
including law enforcement, including people running radars, all
Mhm.
saying this stuff. They're the same as Phoenix Lights. I
Mhm.
mean, you have air traffic controllers. We see it. You have people
Mhm.
all around Phoenix. We see it. You have the whole
Mhm.
state on a diagonal. We see it. You cannot, military, government, deny there was
Oh,
something
they
there, and we
tried.
know you
The
know.
weather
No,
service
of course.
absolutely tried. They said, "Oh,
Yeah.
They actually shut Jack up pretty quickly, and it got to the point where he was bullied out of his job in Michigan and sent down to
Yeah.
Atlanta, where
Well,
he
they don't want the negative press back then, and
not only
you
that,
know,
but there was such a stigma about it, and there still is. Like it was so bad back in the 90s that the two pilots who were flying planes over Lake Michigan, who called in to report what they saw, didn't want their airlines mentioned. They didn't want
yeah,
their names mentioned. They didn't want anything about it mentioned. Just the fact that there were two pilots who were flying over Lake Michigan who saw it, and they called in to report it. Like the newspaper in Muskegon was like flooded with calls at like 8 a.m. of people being like, y'all need to report this. This is what we saw last night.
yeah,
And it got to the point where they were so interested in this that they actually contacted the Ottawa Police Department to get the tapes from the 911 calls that night, which is where I got some of my audio from. They're all available online. Also, there's a show, Lights in the Sky or something like that. It's Unsolved Mysteries, something like that.
right.
But uh great show. It goes over literally everything I said, but with a lot more
Hmm.
detail. Like this guy, Jack, he, like I said, he was basically shamed out of his job and sent down to Atlanta for the entirety of the rest of his career. Once he retired, he moved back and he's been talking to like witnesses who had seen it just because he wants like the vindication for himself. He's like, because he knows he's not crazy. Obviously, 300 people who agree with him.
Yeah,
um so he's been doing a lot of like work with other witnesses and validating what he saw on radar with, you know, their testimonies, and that's so I'm glad
yeah.
he's getting his closure to it. But
Cindy, I'm just looking some stuff up while you're
mhm,
talking, also, and one article I found, Cindy, originally had mentioned four lights in the sky that looked like full moons. That's
mhm,
how
yeah,
big these things looked from the light.
mhm. Now
Hmm.
I feel like there, just because of what he said about the radar, where he saw multiple hits like surrounding and like appearing and disappearing around the original lights in question, the original hits in question on the radar.
Hmm.
Like everything about that says the lights that were seen over the entirety of Michigan definitely weren't the same lights, but probably were. Yes, indeed, it was a rendezvous of some sort. If
Yeah.
it was
Well.
aliens, but that just makes sense to me that there would be more than one set of lights with how many sightings there were, and then all the hits on the
Hmm.
radar.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
going
it's
for
hard.
this
I
like
mean,
full force.
we're talking about something we have no clue about,
Yeah,
right? So
I can
it's
only
hard for anyone
speculate.
to say they're not all the same lights, or
Mm,
maybe they are. Right? The only way you could really, one of the only ways you could really say they were different lights,
mm.
is if they were all appearing at the same time on radar,
True.
right?
Yeah, because well, they were all appearing at the same time on radar, like when they were hovering over Lake Michigan.
Right, but that's the thing, is like a 5-hour time span
True.
throughout
I don't
half
know,
or all
like,
of the state,
I guess
you
that you would
know?
really have to deep dive into it and see, like, I'm sure obviously all of these reports are available on the Mutual UFO Network website, so you can see what times from what counties, but that is a lot of work to dig into, like 300 sightings just to see, like,
Yeah.
were the first sightings around 9, 8:30 up, you know, up north, and as it came down, like, they were later in the day
Mhm.
or night, I guess. Uh, that would be a lot of work to look into, but it would be very interesting to see the
Here's
timestamps on all of that.
here's an interesting quote from that radar operator.
Mhm,
He said, "There were 3 and sometimes 4 blips, and they weren't planes.
mhm,
Planes show as pinpoints on the scope,
mhm.
okay? These were the size of half a thumbnail."
Blobs, yeah.
So that's either multiple
Mhm,
in some type of formation that's large enough that the radar is small enough that the radar picks it up as one object, but
mhm.
large enough to appear like that on it. I mean, that's weird. I mean, that almost tells me that was actually that size. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, so
Wow.
mhm. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about the sighting of 1994. It is one hell of a story that is interesting as shit. But yeah,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts and opinions on this?
Geez, well, I'm still reading some. I'm skimming through right now. Um, I'm just skimming through, looking to see um, quotes or some
Mhm,
other things that might be there. You can't argue with what's been said, and
mhm,
you can't argue that something happened, right? This isn't one
mhm,
person's story with no proof of anything. This
mhm,
is a shit ton of people,
mhm.
and
To
and
the point
also,
where even Larry King talked about this instance
yeah.
on his show on national TV. Like, that's how much it blew up
Hmm.
very quickly.
Yeah, it's a ton of people spread out throughout the entire state, right? Completely unrelated, 5-hour
Mhm,
time span. You
mhm,
cannot deny, number one, something happened. Number two,
mhm,
what happened was very unusual. And I always go back to it. We always hear the bullshit excuses. Oh, it's probably a plane or a planet. All that bullshit. I hate it. We people
It
aren't dumb. They
moved
know
in
what a
such a
fucking plane looks
way,
like at night, right?
yeah,
And
that
and
there
and
is
a
no way it could have
planet.
been a human or a
Yeah,
planet or gas
I've heard
or
the
a
stupid
satellite.
planet. I've heard the planet excuse so many times, and I'm like, how do you mistake a planet for a moving UFO?
Right.
UFO meaning something unidentified.
Mhm.
It. Come on, you don't see a planet move with the naked eye.
No,
You see it because you're zoomed in with a camera
mhm,
to try and get a time lapse or something,
mhm.
and it turns out blurry because it's slowly moving.
Yep.
You know, it it's undeniable something happened and something kind of
Mhm.
crazy, right? I mean,
Oh,
and
unexplainable. Crazy.
yeah, and the old stories are good too because it shows you this isn't just a thing that
Mhm,
happened starting to happen now. This is
mhm.
something that happened. God, what's that? 30 years ago or so? 94, 2004. Yeah, 30 years ago. I
Damn.
mean, Lazar's 89. It's over 30. So
Yeah.
I don't do the math in my head. Come on.
I just did the math in my head, and I don't even wanna think about it anymore, and it's like, Jesus Christ, it's bad enough I
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, I was 8 in '94," and it's like, "Holy shit, it's 2023."
Yeah. So the older the stories, the better because the technology wasn't where it's at today. And that
Mhm,
doesn't mean they don't have stuff.
mhm.
Who knows? I mean, look at the SR-71.
Dude, the
That thing
Blackbird.
was made a long effing time ago, and
Yes.
we only heard about it when? I mean,
Yes.
Jesus. And that thing Mach
I
3.
think I was in, like, middle school when they actually announced its existence. Pretty
I
sure
know
about
I
that.
was in I know for a fact I was in elementary school because
Oh, okay.
parents had got me a book on. It was either the SR-71 or planes. It was this little
Okay,
paper
okay.
book. It was a tiny little square thing, and it had a lot of details about the SR-71 in there. And I want to say that was like 4th, 5th grade-ish, maybe. Um, so they had that thing for quite some time before then, you
Hmm,
know. So who knows where the technology's at, right? When they're going to come out and tell us about something as
mhm,
crazy as the SR-71 back in the 80s, 90s, whenever they told us,
mhm,
um, they're already years advanced from there with the next thing
mhm.
that's already out and being used, right? Otherwise, they'd still be using the SR-71 and not telling us
Right.
because they don't want the adversaries to know or whoever they're spying on. So I don't know. I mean, Michigan, surrounded by oceans, literally, almost
Yes.
literally. Um, Water plays a role. I don't know how mountainous, but Canada's also up there, very desolate in
Not
areas.
mountainous at all. I mean, it
Yeah,
is quite hilly once you get to the tips of the Mitten and into the Upper
yeah.
Peninsula. It is very wooded and very recluse up there. Like,
Mhm.
the UP would be a great base spot if you weren't a water dweller,
Yeah.
USO. Yeah, like,
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. Again, it's got most of the elements we hear about that, these things seem to like, you know? There's no denying it. It's happening. It's been happening. So,
Yeah. Oh wow. Lake Superior, just for record, is 1,300 feet deep.
I was just going to ask you how deep, if you have any idea how deep those lakes are. How deep's
Uh,
Lake Michigan?
Lake Michigan
It'd be
is
pretty deep.
925. Lake
What?
Huron
At its
is,
deepest?
yeah,
Wow,
900
that's not that deep. I
comparatively.
mean, that's
No,
deep.
I mean it's the
That's deep,
second
but it's
deepest Great Lake.
less
Superior
than a
is
quarter mile.
freaking, yeah. Superior is freaking deep at fucking 1,300, just over 1,300. Lake Michigan comes in second at 925. Lake Huron is, I'm
Mm,
sorry, Lake Ontario is next at 802. Lake Huron is 750,
yeah.
and Lake Erie is 210 feet deep.
Really? Wow. I
Yeah,
was
Lake Erie is
expecting
pretty.
deeper with the size of those lakes.
It's just
Of
they're
course, I
just
don't know the
bigger
average
lakes. Yeah.
size. Yeah, I don't know
Well,
the
like
average depth of a
Erie
lake.
isn't like Erie. I think is like the smallest lake of the five of them. I'm pretty sure that like
Hmm.
Ontario and Erie are like the smallest.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, man, Lake Superior, that is a deep, cold lake. So
yeah,
deep and so cold that when ships sink, they don't deteriorate.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's
Very true.
wild. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously
Hmm.
unidentified. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
explain it. There's
Hmm.
something going on, right? And the
Hmm.
good thing is, it's not just going on now. So,
Hmm.
Arrow, UAP Task Force, whatever the hell these groups are called now, you guys need to be looking at all those too. You know, actually, they don't, because I'm pretty sure the government military entity has a clue. At the very minimum, they have at least a clue as to what is and has been going on. Something's
Hmm.
going on.
Oh,
You can't.
absolutely. You can't deny
It's
this
it's
much longer.
undeniable. Yeah, it's undeniable. So, uh, boy, I mean, again, you asked my opinion. I mean, I can't jump to Alien, right?
Hmm.
But
But
now we're talking about 94.
mhm,
And what's the possibility that someone in humankind had some technology like that back then? Who the hell knows? But
we sure
less of a
wouldn't.
chance than now, you
Yeah.
know? So the farther we get back with these stories, the more you see, hmm, back to the show we did that
Hmm.
included those paintings hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
years ago. Why are they painting this weird shit that we describe today as UFOs? They're described and
Mm,
shown to look just like what we see today.
yeah. That
Uh,
painting that you
come
showed
on.
me popped up in a show I was watching, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I know this painting." I felt like really
Yeah.
cool for a moment.
Yeah, these really good stories like this one, I always
Mhm,
revert back to that old stuff. Why?
mhm,
Because it's important.
mhm.
The chance of this being human tech, the only way that's human tech is if it's human tech from like the future. And
Yeah.
then that opens up the idea of portals or time travel or what, you know, what?
Mhm.
I don't, I don't have no clue, but it's very hard to say it's human. But then again, as of now, humans are the only thing we know of that can make things like that.
Yes.
Or
Currently.
even I'd say remotely close, not like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Interesting. I'm gonna have to look some stuff up on this thing at some point, see if there's anything else on it.
Mhm.
You guys got a personal story of your own
Mhm.
from 1994 or now? Email us
If you
obscuredar1 at gmail.com.
remember this from '94, email us. Hell.
If you were alive in 94 and saw this, come on, 94 is not that old. Yeah, no joke. If you saw that,
Mhm.
hit us up.
Yeah, that'd
Hit
be
us
so
up.
cool.
It'd be in
Mhm.
5 years when we get 40 subscribers.
Hey, we got 22 now. It
Yeah,
was 21 just last week. So
right.
thanks, number
Obscured
22.
obscuredr1 at gmail.com. Type story in the subject line
Mhm.
and let us know your story. We will share it on here. We would like to tell your story for you, anonymous or not, up to you. Like, share, subscribe, all that jazz.
Don't
Bells,
forget to hit
bells,
that
and
bell.
bells.
Yes.
Hit the bell.
Don't forget to hit that bell so you can get the notification every Friday at 8 p.m., 5 p.m. Pacific time of every new episode that comes out. And also, sometimes we do release them throughout the week if it's like a special holy shit, this is going on, this is crazy cool type news.
If our editor's doing his job. We had a small break, folks. A couple weeks, some sickness and some other stuff unscheduled, but you won't notice the hit.
Nope, you won't know a thing.
We do. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
also, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the follow bell on our new Instagram and our Facebook at Obscured Reality.
Bling bling. We'll get some stuff up on there soon. We gotta get back into the flow
the
here.
Editor has to get back to work.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, strep throat's no joke.
Man, it's like swallowing glass. Fuck that. I had that shit as a kid all the time, and I'm good. Never again.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I've never had it before that I know of, and I knew day one this was different. This was not a normal sore throat. It sucked balls big time.
Yeah.
It sucked.
Oh, yeah. And there's nothing you can do to like soothe it. Nothing.
No, there is nothing.
Nope.
Drinking hurt, swallowing hurt, swallowing
sucking
food
on
hurt.
the
cough drops
hurt. Yep.
That's the only thing I could do that even slightly helped, and it didn't help much.
I used the actual spray, the Cepacol throat numbing spray.
Nope.
Yeah. Hey, look, when you're in a bind, you do some crazy things. All right.
Yeah, I took some. I each of those nights I took NyQuil at night, to mainly to quote mainly to coat my throat. You know, right when I went to bed, I took it so I could at least kind of relax. But man, just sitting there swallowing, man, it was like, oh. Yeah, it sucked. It reminded me, I had a friend when I was a kid, over exaggerator, lied a lot, that type of stuff. But he was the type, he's always like, I got strep throat. I got strep throat. I got strep throat. I've never had strep throat, so I don't know. I'm like, sure, yeah, you probably did. I don't know. Now that I had it, I call complete bullshit. You know why? Because he wouldn't have been talking and doing the shit he was doing if he had it that much. But then again, maybe he did. You know, I don't know. But maybe he's used to it. I don't know. I don't ever want it again. I know that.
Shit, I don't ever want to have COVID again, and I don't ever want to have strep throat again. Both of those can go fucking kick rocks.
Any sickness I've had since having COVID has been different. It's weird.
I haven't been sick since getting COVID. Oddly enough, like I
haven't been sick much, but yeah.
Wow, no. I mean, I have allergies, and that sucks. But that's like an every year thing for me. But yeah, I just realized that I haven't actually gotten physically sick since having COVID last year.
Yeah.
Oh well, free immune boost.
Our immune systems are better now. Yeah.
I have after the 3 shots and COVID, I better be boosted in some way or form. I don't know.
Oh, you got 3 microchips, huh?
Hell yeah! I had to get that 5G upgrade.
Yes. Oh, damn, that's too bad because 7G's already out.
Look, I got the 5G upgrade. I got the Bluetooth. I got the tracker. Hell yeah, I got the upgrades.
Yeah. We'll be able to use our forearms as cell phones soon.
I got the fucking Apple Pay in my wrist. I don't know what you guys are crying about. I can just go boop and I pay it.
Oh, don't tell people that, man. They'll hit you over the head, render you unconscious, and carry your arm around.
Jesus Lord.
All right. Well, we're out. Like, share, subscribe. We're going to jump out. Stevie.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check back with us often for new episodes. Feel free to drop a comment, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Obscured Reality.